of time. Good game, man. Alright. Let's try again. Road to Noob and Ghost Mine. I think Road to Noob was first. Road to Noob we haven't played before. As usual, Liberian, you played very well, and I had a hard time, like, not making a mistake. I think Rook takes e6 was... So if you just, man, if you can improve finding those tactical shots, you're going to be an extremely dangerous player. Accelerated Dragon. Yesterday, Espresso now, Espresso forever. Called you Espresso now. I don't know why. I think you beat me in one of these Marazzis. I haven't studied black side of Marazzi in a while. Knight c3, bishop g7. It's a mainline accelerated dragon, which I don't think we've had, actually. Everybody on Lichess seems to like play like very quiet lines against the dragon, like bishop e2. Okay, I don't play the mainline dragon. I don't like opposite side castling lines. It's absurd, like how much theory there is to learn. But this is like maybe the first game that I've actually had a mainline accelerated dragon in our streams, which is amazing. I haven't played it that many times. I was playing more classical Sicilians and Rousers. So here, bishop e3 is probably the main move. I mean, castles allows knight takes e4, which I believe equalizes. So knight to b3, I mean, sorry, well, knight to b3 is a move too. It was a kind of Freudian slip. So knight b3 is an interesting move too. But yeah, this allows knight takes e4. Knight takes e4, knight takes e4, d5. Knight takes c6, b takes c6, bishop d3 takes on e4. I take on b2. The only question is, you know, do you want to allow like a lower rated player to... Well, I mean, I'm calling the guy a low rated player. He's probably provisional. So, well, he's got 625 games. Okay. This is his relatively new classical rating. But I think the strength is probably about right. Hyper accelerated move order. Yeah. You know, do I want to do knight takes e4 here? No. I mean, if it was a grandmaster and I was happy to draw with black, I would play knight takes e4. But honestly, I think you're just like making it easier for white to trade a lot of pieces with that move there. Okay, f3. So he's playing like it's Yugoslav attack with the, you know, king on the king side. It's okay for white, but it's not ambitious enough. I had a game in a major open tournament once where I had to win this position as black to win a big money prize, and my opponent played like this, but I was able to win. So that was good. My opponent, who will remain unnamed, later made claims on a chess website that I was kicking his feet under the table. But he was actually the offender, because it's hard not to kick someone's feet under the table when their feet are under your chair, you know. I mean, it's kind of odd. I mean, he's the third person who did that against me. He was at the time the second person who did this. But, you know, I mean, really, you're going to complain that I kicked your feet under the table when your feet were under my chair and you're not that tall, you know. I mean, you're sprawled out all the way across under the table, under my chair, you know. Yeah, I maybe I kicked his feet, but I mean, they were under my chair, you know. I didn't like violently kick him. I was maybe just brushed against it or whatever, but still, the guy is just crazy. It was a last round game. He was really stressed, you know. He was like super nervous. I think just like all this prize money he wanted to win for his like rating division or whatever was a big deal, and later he was like thinking that I kicked his feet to upset him or something. But I never stick my feet under my opponent's chair, you know. Try not to do that. So rook c8. I've had other feet kickers and under table chair problems. One Russian grandmaster who will remain unnamed, who was underage at the time. I couldn't beat him up, so I had to ask the arbiter to come and remove his feet from under my chair, which she did. It was pretty bizarre. Even when the arbiter came, he just kept doing it. It was really strange. Okay, exchange sacrifices here, not really necessary. See, the problem is that white doesn't have the normal kind of stuff, you know, that he would in a sharp dragon. Maybe bishop g4 if f4. Even knight g4 would be good. So if he doesn't have f4, if he doesn't have queen d2, bishop h6, I don't know what white can do here, other than maybe knight d5 and try to simplify. But he doesn't have any play of his own. Sympathize with the Strawlers. He won't name the player. We must assume it was Maurice Ashley. Why is that? Maurice Ashley, no. Maurice is the biggest gentleman I've ever met. No. No, Maurice is a great guy. No, this guy was kind of somewhat dubious character. King h1, good move. I was actually thinking of queen a6 around here. It's probably the wrong idea again against a lower rated player, but it's a normal strategic plan. He's not trading pieces now. He's going to play queen h4, bishop h6. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Well, I think he's, you know, not that wrong to play queen f2 and queen h4. Maybe he gets some counterplay there. But if I can get rid of his bishop for a knight in this relatively open position, I think that's fine. We talked about this structure a lot in previous streams. Bishop on d7 it's not the greatest bishop in the world, so this piece configuration isn't bad for white, even if he trades the white squared bishop on c4. He keeps his, you know, relatively good knights and good bishop. Yeah, a lot of people talk about that game where Polgar won against Kasparov. Well, I heard Kasparov like took back a move or something. I'm not sure. It was a long time ago. Didn't Kasparov like try to take back a move, like a touch move type of thing? So here we can do an exchange sacrifice now. Positional exchange sacrifice. Looks pretty good. I don't know though. I think it's okay. At least this will make life a little interesting. Guys, oh, Kasparov, you mean Weinstein? I didn't get it. You know, there is an international master, Norman Weinstein. So, he's an old school player, I mean, from like the 80s, so I never even met him, but I didn't know who you were talking about. No one ever refers to Gary by his other name, so I understand. Yeah, I think Kasparov, he had issues. He never lost to a woman, I believe, in a tournament game. It's a male-dominated sport, especially back then, and couldn't accept it. So rook d3. Kasparov has never been the most loving of people. I'm just going to play a6 and kind of try to hold it together without committing myself to anything. We're a little low on time, as usual. So this is an interesting situation. I sacked an exchange for positional advantage and a pawn, and it's normally done, obviously, in situations where white is castled queenside. But I like these sort of positional sacrifices as well, just for the pure structural advantage. Petrosian style. Is knight f5 a threat somewhere around here? I don't care about knight f5, actually. Maybe white's trying to play e5? I can play knight h5. I'm just afraid that knight h5 might serve just to, just to help him. So I'm just going to play rook c8. All of our pieces are working. He's tied down to the weakness on c3. So obviously, I looked at this sacrifice knight f5, but it doesn't really work. Gelfand is probably an anti-Semite. Yeah. I don't think so. It's hard to live in Israel if you're an anti-Semite. I guess there are a few out there, but I don't think they'd want him on the Israeli Olympic team. So bishop g5. Bishop g5, okay. White's not really threatening anything, and you see this position. Maybe I shouldn't have played a6, actually. I mean, I might as well just play a5, a4. I think that a6 just turned out to be kind of a waste of time. I wanted to try to keep my pawn structure flexible, but I mean, I should just be pushing this pawn down the board, I guess. h5, h4. h4, weakening his king side drastically there. Let's play h6. Try to pick up a bishop pair. If he doesn't want it, yeah, maybe he should play, sorry about the board, maybe he should play like bishop c1 or something. I have knight h5 ideas, bishop e5 ideas. His king side could start to have problems, more so than mine. I mean, it may look like white's king is in more danger than mine. I have a lot of king, protection here. So knight h5 is pretty interesting. I might just do that. Yeah, I mean, is this guy really gonna like play g4? Okay. I mean, maybe I'll have sacrifices myself at some point. Bishop f2, and then after bishop e5, yeah, bishop e5 is interesting. Kind of inducing him to play f4 and weaken his center. I just don't think he's ever going to have an attack against my king. And maybe I just induce him to weaken his whole structure. Kasparov, I agree. Fluorescent green person. Carlsen is not as exciting a player. I mean, there's just no way you can compare it. It's a different era, though. I mean, Kasparov didn't have to deal with the kind of level of computers and whatnot there is today. Carlsen has to live in this like computer engine chess world where it kind of forced him to be the way he is. There was much more room for creativity and really aggressive play in Kasparov's time. So he's kind of a product of, Carlsen is kind of a product of his generation in a way. Yeah, I don't think he's the most exciting player either. And I've played him firsthand, so I know, We played a rapid game, and I mean, there were no tactics the whole game. We reached a queen and 7 endgame. we both had 7 pawns in